Run, rabbit, run. So in the sun. Hello and welcome to everybody watching. Clearly, watching from the comfort of, the comfort of your phone. If you came here to hear me do a complete a cappella rendition of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, then you missed it. But what you're going to get, which is, dare I say, even better, is a reading from the novel Mirror Box. So, a little backstory before we jump right into the text. A couple weeks ago, I released Mirror Box, and it is now available in basically every major retailer, most notably Amazon. If you want a physical copy, that is where you'll get it. So, we're in the middle of a tour. We're getting close to halfway through it. But, as time goes on, we are expanding the tour. I just added a new date and a new virtual world today, so that will be exciting. Because, the more I spend time in these virtual worlds, the more I learn about them and just how many there are. And of course, we do want to get to them all. So, that's for another time. Today, we are here to read from Mirror Box. So, in the book, conveniently enough, there are a lot of dream sequences. And the themes and symbols present in the dreams, they are kind of interwoven with the narrative itself. So I think I actually labeled the book as a paranormal psychology, which isn't completely disingenuous. But yeah, this today will be an example of that, specifically with the dream. So let me get to it. A light sheet of dust rained unremittingly through the ceiling of the old dressing room. There was a line of faded dresses, molted feather boas, and moth-eaten furs hanging across the room. A rail-thin, wrinkled woman was snoring loudly on a peach-covered recliner. Her feet lay on a matching ottoman that had a missing leg, and her curly red wig was on sideways. The lady's arm hung from the side with a cigarette in her hand. It continuously glowed red, emitting a trickle of rising smoke, but never coming nearer to her fingertips. The vanity mirror, surrounded by light bulbs, had a diagonal crack across it. On the shelf below it, I saw a gray rose in a white vase hanging over the side, but I was too low to the ground to see much else. Amongst the rattle of snores, dusty rain, and smell of nicotine, a voice in front of me demanded, "Stay right there!" I sat where I was, leaning forward. A cat crawled from beneath the recliner and then stood upright, shaking its paws one by one. It was purest white and looked at me with the eyes the color of regal purple robe stained with blood. It sat in front of me, tilting its head. Our eyes were level, so I assumed I was a cat too. I asked, "What is she dreaming about?" "Us. When she wakes up, we disappear." "Huh, that sounds familiar, but we must be quiet anyway." The cat said, "Don't worry, as long as you don't kill her, we'll be fine. She won't even stir." "All right, I could never kill anybody, though." The cat perked its fluffy ears and widened its eyes, as if a human foot had unexpectedly trodden between us. It relaxed again, silently allowing the dust to gray its fur. My eyes found the flower on the shelf, and I focused them to get a better look. A memory sparked. The cat said sharply, "Don't look at that! Look at me!" Its front claws suddenly protruded, but it made no more movements. "Do you know about projections?" I asked. It answered, "I saw a film about them once." Then the cat smiled like it said something enormously clever. It licked its forepaw, claw retracted. The cat added, You suddenly have questions for me, but you haven't answered me yet. You haven't asked me a question. Momentarily alarmed again, it replied, You mean you don't remember? No. The cat looked at me seriously. What's your name? Cat? More severely, Does the name Orson mean anything to you? Not really. More to itself, it said. What happens to your mind in this place? My mind is a light, I answered. I doubt that. Highly. The woman still rumbled with her breath. Her mouth was open, and I wondered why dust hadn't choked her. And then at that moment, she coughed, clenching her empty hand and holding it to her mouth, but not really waking up. The woman soon stopped and turned her head to the side. From the corner of its eye, the white cat watched the commotion. It turned my way with a disapproving scowl. The upper half of the cat was now gray, coated in the falling dust. It doesn't matter that you don't remember, it said. I think I found my own answer. You see, words are generally accepted labels, and as concepts grow, the more labels you'll need over time. Since the label must find general acceptance within human consciousness, the concept must grow into its label. Then there are labels tied to emotions and other labels, and the old label doesn't fit so precisely anymore. It takes time for people to adapt to one, so we draw comparisons instead. When a comparison is made, we've created a metaphor. We say things are the same, even though they're not. Do you understand me so far? No. Can you give me an example? The cat almost grinned. Are you kidding? It shakes its furry head. A metaphor forms a connection that gives birth to an idea, the same way a mommy and a daddy are intimate to create babies. So very simply, this means that metaphors are sex. A spotted long-tailed mouse appeared to our side, skirting on the edge of the room. The dusty white cat was suddenly at attention, jerking back and tensing its head, as if to lunge toward the rodent. With ears and tail pointed to the skies, it feigned a forward leap and then relented. Looking at me through the corner of its eyes, the cat grinned, sat down, and then laid down, head on its paws. It no longer seemed interested in me, but as I stood to go, it said, That was my little joke. Before you leave, watch this. Still facing away from me, it closed its eyes. The mouse popped its head from behind the corner of a dresser and made a zigzag path across the carpet. The tiny brown mouse sat upright in front of the cat's face and twitched its nose. Eyes still closed, it said, Would you like to eat 'em? The mouse turned to me for a response. No thanks, though. Content with the answer, the mouse dipped its nose and scurried up the arm and shoulders of the dusty cat, then stood upright on the cat's head. Maybe you'll understand my role here a little bit better and remember my questions from now on. How? The cat opened its eyes alarmingly and turned in my direction, devious smile spreading across its face. There were lights inside the purple eyes that swarmed and blazed. I stood up, my tail rose along with the hair on my back, and I trembled uncontrollably. I walked a few steps backward as the other cat lifted itself, mouse still balancing on its head. Then came a scream from above. It's a mouse! The heel of the woman's foot came down squarely on the mouse and the cat's head. The rodent squealed pitifully before being crushed. There was a single crack as the cat's head fell sharply against the floor. Thin, bright red blood sprayed from an ear, blending with the dark black fluids that drained from the face and poured in onto the carpet. The claws were still extended, swiping in 4 directions, and then trembling helplessly. The tail stretched fully and waved in the air like a windshield wiper. I leapt back from the scene, cowered for a few gruesome seconds, and then ran through the tunnel in panic. Thank you for your time, everybody.